RepairsUniverse.com. Today we'll be doing a complete teardown of the Samsung Galaxy S6. The tools needed to complete this repair are plastic triangle opening tool, a small Phillips screwdriver, plastic opening tools, nylon spudger, a SIM card ejection tool, a pair of fine tip curved tweezers, an ice-sesamo, and a multi-purpose heat gun. To begin disassembly of the Samsung Galaxy S6, we'll heat the backplate around the edges. Once we have the adhesive around the edges of the back cover softened, we can insert an ice-sesamo into the seam between the back cover and the midframe. We'll gently pry up and then pop off the back cover. Once we have the back cover removed, we will see 13 small Phillips screws. Remove all 13 screws. We will remove the SIM tray. We will heat the top and the bottom of the LCD. Then we will use an ice-sesamo to separate the LCD assembly from the midframe. We'll use the fine tip curved tweezers to gently pry the contacts from inside of the midframe for the inductive charger. Once we have the contacts released from the inside of the midframe, we will run the tweezers along the edge of the inductive charger, and then we will lift the ribbon along the top of the midframe. Be careful when lifting the ribbon from the top, as it is fairly delicate. We'll lift the contacts for the volume buttons. Once we've pried the contacts free, we can lift out the bracket which holds both buttons. Simply insert the tweezer under it and then pry upward. Here we have the volume up and down buttons. Pull out the physical buttons and set them aside. We'll do the same for the power button. Pry the contact from the midframe. Once the contact is free, pry upwards from under the bracket. And then we will take out the physical button. We'll now use a nylon spudger to disconnect the battery. And we will pry the battery from the back of the LCD. We'll disconnect the ear speaker and noise canceling mic. We'll disconnect and remove the front facing camera. We'll unplug the LCD ribbon. We'll disconnect both interconnect cables from the bottom of the motherboard. Disconnect the home button connection. We'll lift the motherboard from the top. And then we will unplug the headphone jack and charging port flex. The flex is connected to the underside of the motherboard on the bottom. We will disconnect the rear facing camera. The rear camera is adhered to the motherboard. We will insert an eye Sesamo to free the camera from the adhesive holding it in place. We'll pry the vibrate motor from the back of the LCD. We will run the tweezers along the top of the ear speaker connection to loosen the flex from the housing. We'll pry the microphone up from the gasket and then pry the ear speaker free. We'll now remove both interconnect cables. We'll remove the one small Phillips screw from the headphone jack. We'll now heat the top and bottom of the LCD assembly. Heat all along the edges, and then we'll heat the back of the LCD frame. We will insert an eye Sesamo into the top corner, trying to pry slightly to create a small gap. Once we have a small gap, we can insert a plastic opening tool and try to pry a slightly larger gap. We're working from the top to ensure that we don't tear the soft key ribbons from under the bottom of the LCD. We'll reapply heat. We want to make sure that the adhesive holding the LCD to the frame is nice and soft. We're working very slowly as to not break the LCD. Inserting a plastic triangle opening tool in between the LCD and the frame. Be mindful of the ribbon for the LCD. Once we have the frame lifted, we want to ensure that the touch buttons are not stuck to the back of the glass. Here we have the LCD free from the frame. We will pry the touch buttons from the bottom of the frame. The back button is folded under the frame, while the recent applications button is folded around the side. We can now pry the flex from the bottom of the frame. Lift the home button ribbon from the adhesive holding it to the frame. And then we will lift the home button. And then we'll feed the ribbon through the hole. We can feed the ribbon back through the hole, and then reseat the home button. And re-adhere the ribbon to the frame. We will reseat the charging port headphone jack flex. Replace the small Phillips screw from the headphone jack. Re-adhere the touch keys. We'll replace the vibrate motor, replace the ear speaker, reseat the microphone, and read here the top of the flex. We'll feed the LCD connection through the frame, and then read here the LCD. We'll take the motherboard and reinstall the rear-facing camera, put the camera through the hole in the motherboard, and reconnect the cable. We will reconnect the charging port flex to the motherboard. We'll ensure that all connections are out of the way. Then reseat the motherboard, reconnect the ear speaker, reconnect the LCD, replace the front-facing camera, reconnect the home button. We'll replace both of the interconnect cables. We'll now take the mid-frame, reinstall the physical power button. We'll slide the power button bracket back into the slot. And we will read here the contacts. We will replace both of the physical volume buttons. Slide the bracket into the slot on the side of the frame. We'll feed the contacts for the inductive charger through the mid-frame and re-adhere it on the inside. Then we'll re-adhere the ribbon and the inductive charger. We'll now re-adhere the battery to the back of the LCD and reconnect it. Then we'll reassemble both halves of the phone. Ensure that the charging port lines up, and then snap the LCD assembly back into place. We'll replace all 13 Phillips screws. And then we will re-adhere the back cover. And finally, reinsert the SIM tray. And there we have another successful teardown from RepairsUniverse.com. All of the parts and tools used today are available at RepairsUniverse.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.